Good afternoon and welcome to our fifth annual Commonwealth Sustainability Week and today's webinar, the Food Policy Council, a recipe for collaboration. I'm Matt Reese, GreenGov Deputy Director. The GreenGov Council was established as the Commonwealth Agency's Lead by Example program, promoting energy conservation and sustainable governance. Our charter sets forth performance goals for Commonwealth agencies, ultimately steering the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions within our portfolio. Specific goals focus on annual energy reductions, high performance buildings, fleet electrification, and the use of renewable electricity. Visit the GreenGov website to see how agencies meet these performance goals. You'll find a host of information including agency certification checklists, past webinar recordings, and portfolio tools that may assist you in developing and achieving your own performance goals. Now I'm pleased to introduce our friend, colleague, and partner at Sustain Penn State, Dr. Peter Boger. Peter is the Director for Engagement at Sustain Penn State and is responsible for the development of strategic programming and partnerships, such as this one with the GreenGov Council, that help Penn State leverage its resources and promote sustainability throughout our Commonwealth.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much, Matt. And thank you all so much for joining us on day two. We are so excited to see so many of you out. Again, we are honored to be co-presenting this with the Green Gov Council. So Sustain Penn State is one of three offices that make up Penn State Sustainability, which collectively try to catalyze, convene, connect, and communicate sustainability across Penn State's 24 campuses to all 100,000 students, 20,000 faculty, staff, and to all of the Commonwealth communities, since Penn State is the land-grant university for Pennsylvania, and we take our mission very seriously that we are in service of the Commonwealth. And especially around sustainability, we know that's important, and we know it's important now more than ever, trying to find ways to build partnerships at times when people's budgets are challenged, times when many new challenges are emerging in the sustainability space. But the exciting part is that there's all these great new opportunities, and the real challenge is how do we connect people and build great partnerships and leverage them into more action across the Commonwealth. And that's what we're hoping that this week is about. That's what we're hoping that our webinar series is about, that you'll join us for monthly. It is about building a community of people who are excited about sustainability, who want to find partners, and who want to get work done. So we thank you for joining us, and we're very excited to see our talk today. Back to you, Matt.
Well, thanks so much, Peter. And next, I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers. Dawn Plummer. Dawn has served as the PA Food Policy Council Director since 2023. Previously, Dawn served as Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council for more than 8 years. Career successes include building strong leadership teams and cross-system relationships with government, nonprofits, universities, food and farm businesses, along with successful advocacy for the creation of the PA Farm Bill. Dawn has an undergraduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania and master's degree in political science from the New York Graduate Center and holds a certificate of local and regional food policy leadership from the Chesapeake Food Policy Leadership Institute. Dawn is a native of Pennsylvania and has called Pittsburgh home for the past 10 years. Danelle Hewson. Danelle is the Executive Director of Grow Pittsburgh and a Pittsburgh native who is passionate about food security. She holds a degree in political science from the University of Pittsburgh and a public and policy management degree from Carnegie Mellon University's Heinz College. Danelle has many titles and roles, including former board member of Pennsylvania's Certified Organics, member of the Pennsylvania Food Policy Council Advisory Committee, co-chair of the Pennsylvania Agriculture Working Group, and served on Pittsburgh's Food Summit Planning Committee and Food Justice Fund Task Force. Danelle has been the recipient of a Women of Achievement of Southwest PA Award and Carnegie Mellon's Tartan on the Rise Award. Julia Seeby. Julia is the Older Americans Act Services Division Chief and has been with the Department of Aging for over 11 years. She began as an aging services specialist focused on housing and community services, later transitioning to oversight of the division in 2018. Julie's previous experience includes working with the Department of Human Services in the Medical Assistance Long-Term Care Program Policy Unit and as an income maintenance caseworker, specializing in long-term care and waiver medical assistance eligibility. And finally, Jessica Shilliday. Jessica serves as the Organics Recycling Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, supporting nonprofit organizations and their food recovery efforts and manages associated grant program. Additionally, Jessica works to enhance food waste reduction and organics initiatives within the Commonwealth. Previously, Jessica served as a DEP recycling and planning coordinator, supporting municipalities and counties in their waste reduction and recycling initiatives. Jessica is a certified recycling professional, a certified compost professional, and is active on the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania Organics Committee. Jessica earned her certificate of technical ability in composting from the Maine Composting School. All right, and now over to Dawn.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Let me pull up my slides here. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon to learn more about our important work. It's very exciting work, it's very challenging, and it takes every single one of us. So, in the spirit of a recipe for collaboration, all of us are eaters, consumers of food and participating in our food system. So thank you for joining us and thinking about your role in this work, and for learning more about what we are up to. We are with the Pennsylvania Food Policy Council and looking forward to sharing our work with the other speakers, and then obviously keeping time to hear from you and engaging directly. Go ahead and kick us off here. So in Pennsylvania, the creation of a state food policy council was a really important step to advancing this kind of food systems transformation that we need for the future of our state. As Governor Wolf wrapped up his tenure and concluded his administration's work on what was called the Governor's Food Security Partnership, he passed an executive order in December of 2022 creating the Pennsylvania Food Policy Council, which is intended to be a statewide coordination mechanism with a structure and staff to advance state-level food systems work. And so this is just a screenshot of the executive order that called for and created the structure and purpose and functioning of the Food Policy Council. So while the council reports directly to the governor, I'm housed in the Department of Agriculture. And so I'm part of that executive staff. And as was mentioned, I'm based in Pittsburgh. As many of you know, our food systems include, when we talk about food systems, what are we talking about? It's how we produce, prepare, distribute, consume, and dispose of food. And these systems are obviously very complex and range from the neighborhood to the global level. So there's lots of pieces and interconnectedness to these systems. An equitable food system is one that from farm to table, from processing to disposal, ensures economic opportunity, high quality jobs with living wages, safe working conditions, universal access to healthy, affordable, and culturally appropriate food, and environmental sustainability. Obviously, that's a vision. We clearly fall short of those that vision, and so that is, one of the primary reasons food policy councils exist. Food policy councils are unique because we take a systems approach in both our structure and the way we're set up, as well as our methods. Councils take a holistic view of food systems as an interconnected complex whole, rather than as individual isolated parts. This framework analyzes the relationships and feedback loops among all components from farm to fork to understand how they influence one another and to address critical challenges in a coordinated, sustainable way. So as you see here, this is sort of just a representation of the food system itself. So, as I mentioned, the council is structured in such a way that brings many voices to the table. The executive order lays out that we take a whole of government approach, meaning that the council structure convenes 8 of the key state agencies that deal with, administer programs and policies around various pieces that are part of our food system. So that includes the state departments of agriculture, aging, community and economic development, education, environmental protection, health, human services, and labor and industry. The cabinet secretary of each of these agencies and their designees are responsible for the work of the Food Policy Council. The council also includes a 16-member advisory committee that represents key food systems stakeholder groups. So again, this is the bringing many voices to the table, representing various perspectives in the conversation. And so you see here on the outer loop, the names of the stakeholder seats that we bring into the conversation. So we have, representation from Penn State Extension, from regional food policy councils across the Commonwealth, from food retailers and manufacturers, Urban Agriculture Organization, which actually one of our fellow speakers, Danelle, is a co-chair of. And sits in that seat on our advisory committee. And you can see the other organizations there as well: Food Waste, Charitable Food, Food Security Organization, etc. The executive order mandates that we meet at least quarterly, and we are subject to the Sunshine Act, meaning that we share our quarterly meetings publicly, and so invite the public to join us. And there's, with every meeting, a portion of the agenda dedicated to public comment. So that's an opportunity to engage directly those who are part of the general public or in a relevant organization, and you have a question or concern you want to bring before the council. There is that opportunity. I wanted to lift up that our final meeting of 2025 will take place on Thursday, November 13th from 2 to 4. And I'll talk more about that later. So broadly, we were established to do three things: evaluate issues facing Pennsylvania's food system, facilitate coordination of interagency efforts, and facilitate the organization of public and private partnerships and support food sovereignty. And I wanted to share just a little bit of background here on food policy councils themselves, because they're somewhat of a niche organization, but that said, they're very widespread nationally and even internationally. To provide some context, food policy councils can take many shapes and sizes. Some gather at the local, regional, or state level. Some are convened by government, like the Pennsylvania Food Policy Council, and others are led by nonprofits or universities. They have many shapes and sizes. Pennsylvania now joins the ranks of state food policy councils that exist and are convened by government. And this map shows the locations of food policy councils in the US and a little bit of Canada, as well as organizations that convene these councils at the regional level. Other states that have councils, and some of these are state led and others are outside of state but partner closely with state. There's one in Connecticut, Nevada, Massachusetts, Colorado, Delaware, Utah, North Carolina, Washington State, Maryland, etc. We also are very lucky to be home to a network of local and regional food policy councils that look at their local jurisdiction. So, one of the beauties of food policy is that there are pieces of those authorities and decision-making and policy-making that fall at each level of government. And so it's really helpful to have, city-level food policy councils, county, and then regional. So we have them in different counties across the state that I'll mention in case those of you are on the line from these areas. We have Franklin County, York, Adams County, Cumberland County, Erie, Lackawanna County, Lehigh Valley. We have the urban centers of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Erie, Bucks, Wayne, Aliquippa, Pottstown, and there are new ones forming all the time. So one of the biggest projects that was tasked to the Pennsylvania Food Policy Council is to complete the state's first food action plan. The food action plan is a comprehensive roadmap to strengthening the Commonwealth's food systems, identifying strategies that span production, distribution, access, nutrition, and waste. The Pennsylvania Food Action Plan is a statewide strategic initiative anchored in executive authority, powered by interagency collaboration, driven by data and stakeholder collaboration, and ultimately accountable to communities, rural, suburban, and urban across the Commonwealth. Working closely with our partners, including our work groups that you'll hear from today, we began this work in earnest in 2025 with a projected release of a food action plan in 2026. And just wanted to put out there, we are planning listening sessions across the Commonwealth in early 2026. So keep your ears open for those opportunities in the coming months. And as it shares here on the slide, the plan will, broadly speaking, assess the state's food system, define strategic priorities, develop policy and program recommendations, establish an implementation roadmap, and then embed accountability. One of the important components of a plan like this is that it's not only a plan for our government partners, but for the broader food system stakeholders and partners across the Commonwealth. In terms of priorities that are laid out primarily in the executive order, but also through our work, we have lifted up the following priorities: expanding food and nutrition security, strengthening local food economies, reducing food waste and advancing circular economy, integrating public health and nutrition, looking at food as medicine strategies, and school and senior meals, what kind of food, what's the nutrition and freshness of those meals. Also centering equity and dignity is a really important piece of this. This isn't about us, the state, feeding other people. It's really about how can we make it so that Pennsylvania is a place where you are able to access food on your own terms with dignity. Also building resilient food systems and advancing participation and accountability. Again, that participation in policymaking, letting your voice be heard. What kind of food system do you want? What kind of environment do you want? And how do you engage in those decision-making opportunities along the way? So in 2023, we kicked off our work by creating 3 work groups that complemented existing statewide tables that were already convening. As you can imagine, coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of statewide collaboration that was happening around things like SNAP, child nutrition, and other topics. And so we wanted to create work groups to really dig in where there might not already be convening and policy development happening. So we invited representatives from state agencies, from the business sector, from farmers and food producers, from nonprofits and universities and others, to assemble into work groups. And each of these groups are unique and doing really interesting work. So I'm really thrilled to turn it over to the co-chair, one of the co-chairs of each of these work groups, to share more on what they've been up to. So first, I will turn to Jessica Shilliday to talk about the food surplus and waste work group.
Thanks, Dawn. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jessica, and as Matt mentioned, I am the DEP Organics Recycling Coordinator, and I serve as the interim acting co-chair of the Food Surplus and Waste Work Group. The Food Surplus and Waste Work Group was created as part of the Food Policy Council to convene a diverse set of state officials and stakeholders from across Pennsylvania and wasted food issue areas to develop a list of policy priorities to inform the drafting of that PA Food Action Plan. The purpose of the Food Surplus and Waste Work Group is to analyze, coordinate, and catalyze action related to food surplus and waste in Pennsylvania by collecting and reviewing valuable and relevant reports, data, and maps, mapping existing systems and infrastructure, identifying strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats related to food surplus and waste systems, identifying the existing efforts and initiatives in the public and private sectors, and understanding their goals, objectives, and current statuses of the work, promoting coordination, communication, input gathering, and joint planning between state agency programs and external partners who are participating in Pennsylvania's food surplus and waste systems. There we go. Sharing information regarding grants and other opportunities relating to food surplus and waste. 2 more. Developing a comprehensive set of food surplus and waste policy recommendations for Pennsylvania to be considered and advanced by the council. and sharing findings and developing new initiatives and communication strategies. So through the collective efforts of the work group, some of the outputs include a set of comprehensive policy recommendations to be shared with the council. Those recommendations of which will be considered for inclusion in Pennsylvania's Food Action Plan, which Dawn talked about, as well as submissions to the council's annual report, which includes accomplishments, recommendations, and findings. That report, which is submitted to the governor. So I mentioned before that the food surplus and waste work group consists of a diverse set of stakeholders, and I sure meant it. Members of the work group consist of numerous interagency representatives from the departments of environmental protection, agriculture, education, human services, community and economic development, aging, and the Department of General Services through GreenGov. It consists of large food retailers with food surplus distribution and or wasted food expertise, local government representatives, farmers, compost industry professionals, community composters, food surplus and charitable food network representatives, food rescue representatives, policy experts, food safety experts, and logistics and waste industry professionals. There are 3 subgroups that are part of the food surplus and waste work group. They are the composting, edible food waste, and school food waste reduction toolkit work groups. So first, the composting work group met to discuss major priority areas with relation to legislative priorities and internal policy level changes that prioritize wasted food management. Topics discussed include the potential of using the Institute for Local Self-Reliance's hierarchy to reduce food waste and grow community as a supplemental guiding point, in considering which strategies and infrastructure to pursue as related to prioritizing composting methods for the reduction of wasted food, which takes into consideration community growth. So after reduction and rescue, the scale prioritizes home composting, small scale composting, medium scale composting, and then centralized composting and anaerobic digestion. The work group did undergo some leadership changes, so it's not met recently, but hopefully we'll be back together soon. The edible food waste working group consists of a group of people who work within the realm of distribution and rescue of edible food. The work group meets regularly. Actually, we just met yesterday to discuss advocacy actions and policy recommendations focused on ensuring that edible, fresh, wholesome food ends up on the plates of Pennsylvanians rather than in the trash. The topics of discussion include ways in which infrastructure that supports the redirection of edible food, such as through the increased food donation efforts, enhanced education about food donation, changes and recommendations needed to better understand food date labeling, opportunity for policy proposals or policy improvements, the use of share tables in schools, and the use of how larger freezing or dehydrating facilities to preserve fresh food longer can be bolstered in Pennsylvania. One of the group's larger goals is to host a summit where those active in the realm of food distribution or food rescue and excess edible wasted food reduction across Pennsylvania can come together to share and discuss ideas. And while much of the work this work group is doing is ongoing, one project has been completed. Yay. It is an interagency project on which each state agency that's part of the PA Food Policy Council provided input for the creation of a website on which each agency's food security or food systems management information was collectivized. There is a link to the website on the slide that Dawn has up. The website was created because there's a whole bunch of information out there that the council's state agencies have available as related to food security or food systems management. And if someone might not know where to begin their search, but they might be familiar with the Food Policy Council, it's a really great jumping off tool in finding more information. The public can use the website to quickly and in one place access the repository of information to explore further the offerings that each of the council's state agencies have through those individual websites. The website is available as part of the PA Food Policy Council's main website, and it's titled PA Food Policy Council State Agencies. The third working group is the School Food Waste Reduction Toolkit Working Group, which is another interagency effort between PA Department of Education, PA Department of Agriculture, and PA Department of Environmental Protection. And we've been working diligently to create a toolkit geared towards school administrators and teachers to use to help them learn about wasted food in schools and provide tools to reduce wasted food generated in their schools. The purpose of the toolkit is to provide information and resources to K-12 schools who may be interested in reducing the amount of wasted food they generate or dispose. Topics covered in the toolkit will include the benefits of wasted food reduction, why reducing wasted food is important, how to do a wasted food audit, working with stakeholders, purchasing local, how food is ordered and served, share tables, donating food, composting, evaluating your wasted food reduction efforts, and more. The toolkit will also include a list of resources that schools can use to learn more about ways in which to reduce the amount of wasted food they generate, as well as examples of schools currently implementing wasted food reduction measures. So the working group created and distributed a survey that was sent to K-12 school administrators, superintendents, food service directors, and other points of contact in those schools asking questions about their food practices and wasted food in the schools. Various types of schools responded, the most responses coming from public schools, and among those survey responses, we learned that most individuals ranked the importance of wasted food in schools at a 4 on a 5-point scale, which is good. So hopefully what we're doing is going to be helpful and useful and important. The survey showed that there was an overwhelmingly positive response to a wasted food toolkit being created, with lots of requests to receive the final product. The working group is also happy to see that a small percentage of schools already have been working on wasted food reduction practices in their school. So where are we at now? So the toolkit's been drafted and it's in the initial review phase. The food surplus and waste work group, as well as other stakeholders in the education and wasted food reduction realm, will have a chance to review the toolkit draft and provide input before incorporating the information into an electronic document, which will then be distributed to those K-12 schools across Pennsylvania. So if you're interested in learning more about the work that the Food Surplus and Waste Work Group is doing, please join the quarterly PA Food Policy Council meetings, during which updates are provided. Thank you so much. Dawn, back to you.
Thanks so much, Jess. Next up, we have Julie Seavey of the Department of Aging and co-chair of the Senior Nutrition Work Group.
Thank you, Dawn. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to be with you today to talk a little bit about our Senior Nutrition Work Group. My name's Julie Seavey, and I co-chair the work group with Sean Cairns from Hunger Free PA. Our work group came from the Food Policy Council and the need to bring individuals together to strengthen nutrition programs for older adults here in PA. We consist of both state agencies and external stakeholders, such as representatives from your area agencies on aging, food banks, and other community organizations. And we're dedicated to sharing resources and opportunities, highlighting best practices, and identifying and addressing gaps to support nutrition programs and services. The PA Department of Aging embarked on an initiative and created a 10-year plan to address the needs of older adults and improve services. After all, we are all aging, and we've called it Aging Our Way PA, and I've included the website address you may visit to learn more on the slide. Part of this plan includes priorities, strategies, and tactics around nutrition. Our work group embraced the opportunity to implement 3 of the Department of Agriculture's nutrition-related tactics found in the plan. And what we have done is separated our work group into 3 smaller sub-work groups based on interest and expertise. So I've listed the tactics on the slide for you. And the tactics are as follows. Advocate for expanded funding for home delivery of the Senior Food Box program. Expand access to mobile farmers markets across the Commonwealth, particularly for older adults in communities with limited access to fresh, nutritious foods, and expand awareness among older adults and throughout the aging network of eligibility for nutrition-related programs, such as SNAP, the Senior Food Box, and the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. So the work groups have completed tactic action plans, or what we refer to as TAPs, which guide the implementation of the tactics. The TAPs have allowed the subgroups to include achievable action steps, identify possible challenges they may be facing, and acknowledge measures of success. So now we are at the beginning stages of putting our work plans into action. In keeping with the tactic relating to expanding awareness of nutrition-related programs, the third one on the slide, and our dedication to sharing information, we were able to have a representative from the Department of Human Services meet with us last month to discuss the SNAP work requirements and exemptions. They were able to answer all of our questions and provide clarity so we may be able to assist those that we serve. I just would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today during Sustainability Weekend. And Dawn, I can turn the presentation back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Julie. Next up, we have Danelle Houston of Grow Pittsburgh, who is one of the co-chairs of our Urban Agriculture Work Group.
Thanks, Dawn. Hi. Like Dawn said, I have the honor of serving as the co-chair of the Urban Ag Working Group alongside Dr. Jamie Green from the Department of Agriculture. It's a privilege to be here today to discuss the Urban Ag Working Group and how we are working to grow a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable community through urban agriculture across the Commonwealth. The mission of the Urban Agriculture Working Group is to analyze, coordinate, and catalyze action at the state level. We want to see advance urban agriculture as a crucial link to the food security, food sovereignty, and community resilience, ensuring that every Pennsylvanian has access to fresh, locally grown food while supporting sustainable land use, workforce development, and strong local economies. And it's important to note that urban agriculture is not meant to replace rural or traditional agriculture, but it's to bolster and highlight the resources available within an urban setting and how we can create those more sustainable communities. Urban farms and gardens complement the broader agricultural ecosystem, and we bring food, skills, and opportunity directly into urban communities. Our working group is made up of a diverse collaborative of stakeholders, including state government representatives, urban agriculture practitioners, state and local government officials, higher education partners, and technical assistance providers. We currently tend to meet monthly, and we are refocusing our efforts on 3 key priority areas: food access, land usage and land access, workforce and economic development. Each priority area has a subcommittee working to develop recommendations for the Pennsylvania Food Action Plan that Don spoke about earlier. And we want to translate our discussions into actionable policies and programs. I also want to highlight a major milestone that we had from earlier this year. So we had a 2025 convening showcasing excellence in urban agriculture at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. It was a month-long collaboration and effort that brought together urban agriculture practitioners, policymakers, and resource experts for impactful discussions. Our sessions included a building business case for urban agriculture and contracts with in-state institutions, a panel on increasing urban agriculture's economic impact, and a fireside chat with Secretary Redding. And then building upon that success of 2025, we're planning for a second annual showcasing of excellence in urban agriculture for the 2026 Farm Show. This event will celebrate innovation, creativity, and impact of urban agriculture across the Commonwealth and focus on those 3 key priority areas. It will highlight urban growers and practitioners from across the Commonwealth and bring together her work on food access, workforce development, and growing our local economies. The Farm Show is a perfect place for this to happen and really be able to bring us together and show that urban agriculture is sustainable, innovative, and essential to our state's future. And And so as we continue to think about how these moments, what momentum we have here, sorry, I saw this a chat. Also, how we're going to address food access, land access, and workforce and economic development, we continue to create recommendations. So as we address food access, urban agriculture can provide access to fresh, affordable, culturally relevant foods. It will continue to reduce food insecurity. It will promote nutrition and strengthen the connection between communities and the food that they eat. And it's a crucial part of creating sustainable, equitable food systems in Pennsylvania. And as it comes to urban growing, land access and land use is key and really the first step to be able to grow food in an urban setting. We continue to advocate for policies that recognize the right to farm and that urban agriculture is the highest and best use of land within cities, and how we can continue to have that discussion with our economic development partners, both at the municipal level, the county level, and at the state level as well. And while doing that, we want to make sure that we're promoting equitable acquisition of land that ensures that all communities, particularly historically underserved neighborhoods, can access the space to produce fresh and local food. Urban agriculture is not just about land use, it's about community building, environmental stewardship, and food security. And also, we want to make sure that as we continue to look at urban agriculture and the other benefits that it is, the workforce and development and economic development. Urban agriculture is a key space for educational opportunities and being able to create transferable skills through urban agriculture and local small growing systems. Supporting urban agriculture strengthens human capital, economic resilience, and long-term sustainability. And we organize our efforts through four guiding principles as a working group. We work to identify, convene, coordinate, and catalyze. So we are identifying and protecting the right to farm and advance urban agriculture as a respected sector in Pennsylvania. We want to bring together urban farmers, policymakers, researchers, community leaders, and other stakeholders through listening sessions and collaboration. We want to coordinate with public and private efforts to share resources, foster collaboration across state agencies, nonprofits, and local governments. And then we want to turn these actions into policy recommendations, opportunity for capital investments, and research partnerships. So in all, we continue to make sure that we are providing a space for these conversations to continue, make sure that we all have a understanding on how to create a sustainable and more equitable future in food systems for all that can be replicated across the Commonwealth. I'll turn it back over to you, Dawn.
Thanks so much, Danelle. So I know this is a lot of information. We're wrapping up here with this slide to just sort of share how you can get involved. There's obviously our website and the socials affiliated and a newsletter affiliated with the Department of Agriculture. Also listed here are our individual email addresses if you're interested in reaching out. Our next council meeting, as I mentioned, is on November 13th. And we actually have two convenings at the farm show, the one that Danelle mentioned, and I actually think that that's not the right date. Is that a Saturday? Yeah, so we will be convening as our urban agriculture convening. No, that is right. Urban agriculture convening will be on the 16th, and a broader food policy council convening will be on the 17th, but there'll be more information in the coming weeks, save the date and registration links and things. But I wanted to stop us there and transition into our Q&A, and I invite our speakers to go ahead and come back on screen, and we can go ahead and answer any questions you might have. And you can feel free to raise your hand or drop your question in the chat.
And thank you so much for the presentations today, and we will stop the recording right now.
Great.